Hey, I'm Jake. In today's video, we're going to be learning how to monetize your video in Unity with Unity ads. But before we get started, I'd just like to ask that you subscribe below and hit that bell notification. It'll really help my channel to grow, and I will be able to provide more content like this or devlogs in the future. So let's get started. So the first thing you need to do before anything else is you need to make sure that your build settings are set to either Android or iOS. To do that, we will just go to File, Build Settings, and then under here, by default, if you've never changed it, it should be set to PC, Mac, and Linux standalone. You'll know which one's selected because it'll be highlighted in blue and it'll also contain the Unity icon. And I have Android selected, but if yours is not selected, simply select Android and hit Switch Platform and wait for it to set up. Following that, we need to download the Unity monetization package. So to do that, we need to go to Window. Took me a second. Okay, General Asset Store. Okay, and you're going to go to the search bar and you're going to type in Unity monetization. Click on this. This is the one. It's titled Unity Monetization 3.20. And what you do is you just hit import, and I've already imported this, so all of this is blanked out, but you would just hit this import button and then that would be it for that. So once it's imported, you'll know it's imported if you go down to your project files and you'll see a package that says Unity Ads. Don't do anything with it, but know it's there. Now that that's complete, there's one more thing that we need to make sure is set up before we get started. And to do that, you'll need to go, to this website. It's Unity Ads, unity3d.com/help/monetization/getting started. And I'll just have a link to this in the description, so you don't have to type that out. But when you get here, you'll notice that you need to register a Unity developer account on the Unity developer dashboard. Now, most of you have probably already done this just by downloading Unity, but if you haven't, make sure you click the register. It'll take you to the Unity dashboard and you need to set up an account. The next thing that we need to do is we need to go back to Unity. My bad, I skipped that. Okay. And we need to go to Window, General, and Services. So, in Services, you'll notice that it has like a place for ads. Click on it, and it'll bring you here. And what you're going to have to do, I've already set this up, but what you're going to have to do is this will be turned off. You'll simply need to turn it on, and then it'll be enabled. However, more than likely, you'll have to turn it on and acknowledge that you're making this game, or it'll come up with a box that describes like, is this targeted for the age group of 13 and below? But this game that I'm working on, Crosswalk Joyride, is targeted for everyone, so I did not click that box and then re-enable it. So you're going to have to probably press this twice. So once that's done, there's two things you need to make sure are enabled. If your test mode is not enabled, click the check mark. If the advanced mode or the enable built-in ads extension is not checked, check it. Okay? Just make sure that both of those are enabled before we move on. So next, following this, you're going to need to go to the Unity developer dashboard, which you have previously registered in the last step. So now you'll go to the Unity dashboard, and under the Operate tab, make sure you're more than likely going to start on the Developer tab, but you need to click on the Operate tab to get to this page. So following that, you'll see a page that's relatively similar to this one, and we want to go to Projects, and then click on your game. Mine is Crosswalk Joyride. From here, you want to click on Monetization, and then you need to go to Placements. Now, there's a few things that we need to look at in here that are very important. First is that they only allow, by default, two forms of ads: video ads and rewarded video ads. Now, a video ad is also referred to as an interstitial ad. An interstitial ad is just an ad that takes up the entire screen, and usually it's a photo that can be X'd out of. But the way that Unity has set it up, they call it a video ad, and that can display a video, full screen video ad that can be skipped, or it can show an interstitial ad, or it can even show a little game that someone can play or skip out of. A rewarded video is a video, and it's a video that's generally 15 to 30 seconds long that cannot be skipped. And basically the enticing factor to use this is that you will reward the player for watching something. So you'd give them a consumable, or you'd give them an extra life or something like that. Now there's also a third type. Well, there's four, but on Unity there's a third type, and it's called a banner ad. If you want to do a banner ad, which I would advise not to because they're the most annoying things and people will hate you, you would just go to ad placement. You would type in banner ad, and so you would type in banner, right, as the placement ID. Make sure you do it as banner, and then you would just click this, hit create placement, and then later on in the steps it would be exactly the same as what I'm going to show you. But I'm not going to do banner ads because I don't like them. So in this video we will show how to do the video and the rewarded video ads. So knowing that, what do? There's a few things that you need to know on this page. The main one is your game ID. But before we get into this, just keep it on this page and let's go, and we're going to need to create some code. What you're going to do is you're going to create a C# script. So let's do that, and we're going to call it add controller. So let's open that up in Visual Studios, and you would get something like this. Now the first thing that we are going to want to do is we're going to want to take these numbers. Now I've blurred out these numbers just because don't use my numbers. You need to use yours, otherwise it will not work. So take the numbers from here. You can either, it's easier if you just copy it to the clipboard. So let's take the Google Play Store, right? So let's copy that to the clipboard, and then let's head over to the code. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to make a private string, and we're going to call this Play Store ID, and then that needs to equal what we copied from the Unity dashboard. So following that, that is now how you set it up for the Play Store, but now we need one for the App Store. So let's do that. Let's do private string, and we'll call this App Store, actually. Yeah, let's call it App Store ID. And then we need to go and get from the Unity developer dashboard, we need to get the App Store. So let's copy that to the clipboard, bring it over, and paste it. So now that we have our IDs, we can now set it up for our system, but we need a way to call the specific video or the rewarded video ads. So how do you do that? If you click on this, you'll see the placement ID is titled video. You can copy this to the clipboard now. And then in your script, we're going to need to make another string. This one is also private, and it will be called video ad, and we will set the string to what we copied. By default it will be video, and the other one will be rewarded video, I believe. So but we'll check that. So we need to make this, and we're going to call this one rewarded video ad, and that in. So now we have our callbacks to what ads we want, and we have the system IDs that we're going to use. So how would you differentiate between the Play Store and the App Store, right? You're going to need a way so that you can set that up. And there's multiple ways, but probably the easiest way for someone to understand would be to make a Boolean, public bool, and we're going to call this, and we're going to call this is Play Store. So basically you'll set this to false if you're going to be launching it on the App Store. And we're going to do this through the inspector because that's the easiest way to visualize it. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to know if you're testing an ad versus actually deploying an ad. So what we will do, let's just write this, set to false when launching game. That'll be easy for you guys to understand, and we will just do a public, and it will be a Boolean, and it'll be is test ad. Okay. So now we have a variable that will check whether or not we are testing an ad or actually willing to deploy it. And you'll see this later in the code when we actually use that, but that's the only variables that we're going to be using for this. So now that we have that set up, the first thing that we're going to need is to initialize the ads so that they're loaded into the scene. So let's get to that. What we're going to do is we're going to create the private void. Okay, we're going to create a private method, and we're going to call this initialize monetization. Yeah, let's call it that. Okay. Okay, so from here, now is the time to check your the system that you're using. So we would do if, and then just simply check is place if the Play Store is true. So if we want to use it on the Play Store instead of the App Store. So before we get any farther in this, I just realized that we also need to make a call to the package that we're going to be using. So what you want to do is you go using Unity engine and then dot monetization, just like that. Okay, so now that we have that, we can call its methods within this class. So there, under monetization, there is a method called initialize, right, that we are going to want to use to set up, which is going to basically load it and get it all ready for us. Now it is a method that takes in two parameters, right? The first is the ID of your platform, and the second is whether or not this is a test ad. It's a Boolean, which is, we're going to use this one. So let us do that. So this one, because if it's the Play Store, we want to give it the Play Store ID. So we would just say Play Store ID, comma, and then you can see here that it also requires a Boolean to see if it's testing. So what you would want to do, so if you're testing, you want that to be true, right? So you would just put in the test ad. So, oh shoot, we're gonna have to make sure that on our game object that we set that to true. If it is the Play Store, we want nothing else to do with initializing, right? So we would just hit return so that it doesn't follow any other part of this method. However, if we want it on the App Store, none of this will be called, which means that the only other option is that it is for the App Store. So we'll just take the same line of code, the monetization.initialize, right there, my bad, take in two parameters, but this time we're going to say App Store ID and then is test ad. And that's all that we need for this function. However, we need this function or method to come about right at the beginning of the code, so just take it to the start method and hit initialize monetization. And that will call this function the second this loads in the scene, and it'll get the ads ready for you. So the next thing we need to do is set up a way for our ads to be played. So we're going to start with the interstitial ad, or just the video ad. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make a public. It's important that you make this public. You'll find out because we're going to be calling this from another class later. So make it public, and we're going to call this one play video ad, just to keep it simple for us to call it later on. The next thing you want to make sure, you have to have a call, or you have to make sure that the ad is ready to display before you throw it. Otherwise your game is going to crash and people will not be happy. So how we do this is we just do a simple if statement, and we're just checking to see if the ad has loaded. So the way to do this, you can check monetization dot is ready, and then we need to call what kind of ad we're looking at. So we want to check, since this is the video ad, we want to make sure that this one is being called. So we just say video ad, okay? So now that checks to see if that is true, right? So if the ad is ready, right? But we don't want to check for that. We want to check and see if it's false. So just put an exclamation mark in front of it, and that'll check to make sure that it's false. And if it is false, we do not want to run this method. Just forget it. And here you could put an error message or have a link to an error message that can pop up for your user to say that the ad wasn't ready or something like that. But for this test, we're not going to do anything like that. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that it's not loading the same ad that it was before and have it changed, right? So we're going to just do a show ad placement content, and this is our video ad, and we're just going to set it to null. This will make sure that it is set to null each time so that you don't run into problems. From here, we just want to, because we created it, but it is currently, it's giving an error. It's not an error, it's just a warning that the ad has been assigned but it's never used, and that's because we haven't done anything with it. So let's do something with it. Let's do video ad now equals monetization dot get placement content, and this will be our video ad, the one up at the top. Make sure you don't use the video ad, it's the video ad up here. And then we're going to use it as a show ad placement content, because basically we're going to be casting it as this so it fits the needs or the requirements of the video ad. From there, after all of that, we just need to make sure that it was once again instantiated and we're not running a false or like a null ad, so it would actually play. So just do this, just do if video ad, and this is the video ad here. We're looking at this one. If it's still equal to null, then just once again don't do anything. You could throw another error here to let the user know, but basically it's just get out of that function. Do not throw that ad because it's not ready. But if it is ready and it's all instantiated and everything like that, you can now show the ad. So what you do is just video ad, and that once again is this one, and you would do dot show, and this is a method that will show your ad. So very good. Next, we just want to basically copy this whole entire function and set it up for the rewarded video ad. There is no difference besides the calls to certain things. So let's copy that, paste it here, and we're going to call this one, play rewarded video ad. That'll make it very easy to tell the difference. And then you just need to go through here and we need to change out the video ads for the rewarded video ad. So let's just copy that so I don't spell it wrong. And rewarded video ad is now that, and right here as well. Now that we have a way to show the ads, how do we set that up? Well, there's multiple ways to do it, but the best way would probably be to make this class a singleton class, or to make it like a part of a singleton object. Wow, that got way overexposed. The sun came out. Here, give me 1 second. So now we have a script that'll load the ads, and it'll also has a way for us to show it to the player. However, how do we get it so that it actually can do that? One of the easiest ways would just to be make this a singleton object that you can call from any other class to show an ad. So to make it a singleton object, we're going to make a public static, and we'll call this ad control. It has to be we're going to make it one of these, a static version of itself, right? An instance, and we'll call it instance. And then down here, we will make a method, and we will do this. It'll be private void, and we'll call it test singleton. So to make this a singleton, then we need to check for a few things. So let's go if instance does not equal null. So instance does not equal null, then we need to destroy the game object. Okay, And just in case this doesn't load fast enough, we would just hit a return statement in there as well, just to leave the method, just to make sure. It's probably never going to happen. But following that, if this is the only instance of the object, then instance equals this. And then from there, you're going to want to make sure that you don't destroy it on the loading of other scenes. So we would do don't destroy on load. And then, yeah, it's a game object. Okay, this won't run because we haven't instantiated. So what we want to do is we want to do this before even the start method. We want to look at it. So how do you do that? You just do void awake. So you would just do test singleton, which is the method that we just created. So now we just need a way to call it from other things in the scene. Oh wait, no, first we're going to need to make a game object for it to be on, right? So go to Unity. We're going to create an empty game object. We're going to call this add controller, and then add the script that we just made, the add controller. Because my build settings are on Android, I will make it, is it on the Play Store? Yes. Is it a test ad? You must use test ads. Otherwise, if you develop while running actual ads, your account will be banned and you'll no longer be able to use any Unity services, and you don't want that. So make sure to click that and make it true when you're about to deploy the actual game to either the Play Store or the App Store. Simply uncheck that and make sure that that one's toggled to the right one. Okay, but for now, test ads are on. Now we have it set up in the scene, but we still don't have a way for the ads to be called. And what you need to do is set that up in your actual scripts. So with my game, it has a UI button that will let you continue for free if you watch one ad rather than paying a Ruby. So what it uses is my menu navigation script, and it calls this method, the continue with ad. You're gonna have to figure out and set up your own methods, but let's put in the code that's actually gonna call this ad. So what you would do to call it, because we made it a singleton, you can call it from any class. So what we would do is add controller, which is calling that singleton object. And then you're going to go for the instance, and then play. This is the method that we chose, or that we created, the play rewarded video ad. Make sure that you make it so it's an actual method call, and simply save that. If we go into the game and we were to die or get a game over, we now have a UI button, and if we were to click on it, it displays the Unity reward video ad. And you know it's a reward video ad because it only has the close button at the top, and it does not have a skip button, which means that they would have to watch the entire thing before they were allowed to exit out to get the reward, right? So now when we close it, you've just pissed off every one of your players, and they now hate you. If you don't understand why, because you're all happy that your ad worked, but guess what? It didn't give the player anything. I was promised that I would get to continue this game for that ad, and I did not. There is no reward. So how do you call a reward from a reward video ad? Well, you need to go back to your script. So we're going to create a new method, and this is going to be a private method, and you are going to call it handle show result. Okay. And it's going to take in a parameter of show result, and we will call this result. So from here you're going to want to make a switch statement. And it's going to be looking at this parameter. So it is result, type that in. And then the first case we want to look at, because result is going to, show result is an enum, it's an enumerator from the monetization package that we've installed earlier. So you're just going to want to take a look at the three cases of the enum, which are case show result dot. There are three instances that can happen from a reward video ad or an interstitial. And that is if the video failed, if the video had finished, or if the video was skipped, right? So the first one we want to do is if the video finished. Okay? Don't forget to break out of that. Then also show result dot, we'll do skipped next. And then we will do the show result for failed. Okay. So in here, we know if the video finished playing, we should reward the player. So this is where you would put in the reward for your player. And if the video happened to be skipped, which I don't think they can in a rewarded video ad, but you would not want to give them a reward, and it would just go back to the game over screen, so you don't actually have to do anything. We don't want to use it at all. And if it's failed, then we want to know, and the user wants to know, and what you would do is you would just put in you would throw an error to the user to let them know. And I'm not going to set that up, but just know that that's where you would set that up, to throw an error to the player, however it is in your game. For mine, it would pop up with a message that said the ad failed to load, right? But for us, we want our scene to continue, right? This is where I'm going to reward my player with that, but notice that this won't actually be affected in your game. You have to call this method in, so you go to the player reward ad, video ad, and when you show it, you want to show it, but also handle the show result, the method that we made. Handle, oh, weird, no. Now when we play it and get a game over, we should have it continue the scene. So if I was to die and I was to continue, and if I was to close it, we are rewarded with continuing the scene, just how I had envisioned it. So, good. Now that we have the rewarded video ad set up, now we need to just finish it off with setting up the video ad. So, when you get a game over, it calls this method, which is instantiate a game over, right? And don't mind this code, that's just what happens. So all you would need to do, right, in here, is do the add a controller dot instance dot instance, and then just call the method, and this would be a play video ad for this one. Okay. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing this way because you're gonna piss off users if they get an ad every time. I would make it so that the user, it happens like every other time, at least. But just for demonstration purposes, I made it so it's gonna happen every time. So I saved that, and when I play, you're gonna notice we're gonna get a video ad when I get a game over. So if I get a game over, it launches a video ad, which is skippable, so we know it is a video ad instead of a reward-based video ad, and you can close it. So you can skip it and go here, or you can close out of it, like so. And yeah, that's how you monetize your game in Unity using Unity ads. I hope you guys found this helpful, and if you did, consider subscribing. Once again, it will help out my channel to grow and help other people see this useful information as well. So if you want to know more about me, I have a game published right now on the App Store. It's called Crosswalk the Game. I'll have a link to that in the description below. And yeah, thanks for watching.